Your Excellency, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me over, Emily.
The state of Qatar has developed incredibly fast, and now you're just 2 years away from hosting the FIFA World Cup in 2022, a first for the Middle East. And this has really driven change in your country from massive multi-billion-dollar infrastructure projects and technology and business advancements all well underway. And I'll get to all of that in a moment, but first, none of us could have predicted the impact of this coronavirus pandemic. And I'm wondering, how optimistic are you that the World Cup will go ahead exactly as planned and that the fans will be there?
You know, I'm fairly optimistic. I mean, we're hearing news of vaccines coming out, hopefully by 2021, and to a certain extent, we have the tournament which will be held at the end of 2022. So we're 2 years away from the tournament itself. So I'm fairly confident, or at least optimistic, that from a medical and health point of view, whether it's vaccines being put in place, whether implementing the necessary requirements in terms of social distancing and applying it on a wider scale, whether it's in terms of travel and the hospitality industry, I think solutions will be put in place and systems will be put in place addressing those concerns. Of course, I do have another concern as well in relation to the impact of COVID, which is the economic impact this may have on fans. Which we've always committed that this will be an accessible tournament for everybody and an affordable tournament for everybody. It is difficult for us to predict today exactly the kind of the kind of support that we will provide to ensure that this is an affordable tournament and an accessible tournament for the fans. But we are committed towards looking at solutions and putting in place solutions and packages, working with our stakeholders to try to make it as accessible and as affordable as possible. For all the fans that want to come to Qatar in 2022.
Okay, now whether we're talking about the major infrastructure projects that you develop, can you just quickly go into a little bit further those major projects that have since come online? How have you been able to maximize sustainability in almost every aspect of development?
In terms of infrastructure, of course, when we won the right to host the World Cup in 2010. Our commitment was that this World Cup will be a catalyst and it will be utilized as a vehicle for the country to achieve its urban development goals, its overall development goals as well, part of the Qatar National Vision 2030. So we were very careful to ensure that every infrastructure or every element of the infrastructure that was required for the World Cup was actually part of the plan of the country and its overall development plan. So today we're very proud to say that the metro system is up and running. We have, which was built within a record-breaking time as a commitment towards utilizing public transportation and reducing the number of cars on the streets, as well as part of an overall commitment. In terms of stadiums, today, 6 of our stadiums are up and running, or will be up and running by the end of this year. And by the end of next year, all 8 stadiums will be up and running and complete and tested and commissioned and ready a year ahead of the tournament itself. I'm very proud to say that we're fairly advanced when it comes to the ICT infrastructure required to ensure that this will be probably one of the most connective tournaments in the world. That's in relation to the infrastructure elements and what's coming to play. In terms of sustainability, we committed to this being the first carbon neutral tournament for a sporting event. To address that, we addressed it from different aspects. One, there was a commitment towards developing the renewable technology industry within the state of Qatar. So as a result of the World Cup, we accelerated a program to develop an 800 megawatt solar farm within the state of Qatar today that would feed into the network. And I believe by 2021, will be fully functional and will be feeding into the country's network in relation to renewable technology. Each facility that we built for the World Cup is committed or is operated in a way that optimizes environmental sustainability. So it optimizes, for example, water consumption, energy consumption, and so on.
Hassan, this is obviously shaping up to be a very futuristic city.
Absolutely, Emily. And I just want to give 2 quick examples in terms of how we've applied innovation in relation to our stadiums as well, especially when it comes to sustainability. The first was Al Rayyan Stadium, which originally was an established stadium, was already in place. When we assessed the need to upgrade it to a FIFA requirement or FIFA standard, we realized it would have cost more to upgrade the current stadium. So what we did was we demolished the stadium, We recycled 90% of the material of the existing stadium into the new stadium. The remaining 10% was then is being utilized as a commemorating works of art to promote sustainable development. So that's in relation to Al Rayyan Stadium. Another stadium, which is Ras Al Agood Stadium. So we developed what I believe would be the first of its kind in the world, a fully demountable stadium. So the stadium is built up, something similar to Lego, put together. At the end of the tournament, it will be dismantled completely. The land itself will go back to the government for, to be utilized for further use. And the remaining components then will be reconfigured in different shapes and forms for further use beyond stadium.
Okay, well, Hassan, this all sounds like it's been obviously very well thought out, and I'm sure everyone is looking forward to what this will actually look like when it's all completed in 2022. I've got to move on here, and I want to talk about social reform, because I know this has been a huge issue for the country. So Qatar is leading the way on progressive change in the region, particularly regarding labor reform. Your country has recently abolished the kafala system, which removes employer restrictions on workers' rights. And I know the country has made incremental changes throughout the years on this issue. So I'm just wondering, how important is this to migrant workers in your view, and particularly the country as well?
It's very important. I mean, it's important to keep in mind that the country was committed to labor reforms, years before we actually bid to host the World Cup. This was part of this was under the human and social development elements of the Qatar National Vision 2030, which was launched in 2008. As we've always said, we believe that the World Cup, we wanted to utilize the World Cup as a catalyst for the country to achieve its overall goals, and it served that function. Today, as a result of the commitment from the government, as a result of significant work being done and put in, as a result also of the Supreme Committee itself, implementing worker welfare standards, utilizing our unique position to kind of serve as a petri dish for certain elements and certain developments and reforms in the labor system that both provides or let's say upgrades the reforms in relation to labor rights, but at the same time also balances the needs of business community as well to ensure that the reforms are sustainable for the long term. This is not a short-term exercise that goes away once the spotlight shifts away from the state of Qatar. The commitment is a long-term commitment. I'm very proud to say that within the Supreme.
Sorry, Hassan, just to interject there on your point, how do you plan to build upon this in the future?
Well, you build upon it by ensuring that every step is well thought out, and that's why within the Supreme Committee, what we've done is we've created our own model when it comes to worker welfare standards. And the model has been established in conjunction and cooperation with international trade unions, but at the same time also taking into consideration the business community as well. And like I said, it has to be a balance between the two entities to ensure that this balance is provided in a way where workers' rights are protected, workers' rights are adhered to. It took a number of years for us to establish a number of these laws, put it into place. I know, with a lot of entities, which we have a great relationship with, there was always the criticism that you're taking too long, but you need the time to be, you need these laws to be well thought out. You need them to be incrementally introduced so that any issues are ironed out and then changed and modified in a way where you ensure that this law and the implementation of it is sustainable for the long term. This is what we've done within the Supreme Committee. Over the last 10 years, we've developed our worker welfare standards. We've learned over the years what works and what doesn't work. We've communicated with the workers. We've actually brought on board experts within the industry, which are the trade unions and international trade unions. We've had open discussions with them and with the business community for each specific element that we've addressed and implemented. So whether it's recruitment fees, whether it's worker welfare forums, whether it's the establishment of, for example, Stay Cool, and I can continue talking about a lot of these reforms, especially some of these innovative reforms that we've put in place.
Your Excellency, Mr. Hassan Al Thawadi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now it's back to Web Summit in Lisbon.